Hello, good evening. What does it take to treat the vaccination of the economically developing world as seriously as we do our own countries? Tonight, we might be on the first step to an answer. The US has said it will support a proposal to waive intellectual property protections, ownership for COVID-19 vaccines, joining an effort to increase global supply to narrow the gap between rich and poor nations. The US Trade Representative Catherine Tai told Bloomberg News tonight America was in favour of the waiver and what it was trying to achieve. Her words now need to be followed up with a concrete plan for what it means and how it happens. But it is likely to put pressure on other nations, including our own, to follow suit. The IP waiver has been opposed by drug makers who say the plan is ineffective. They argue that few countries have the capacity to produce more vaccines, even if they knew the formulas, and that there's still a limited global supply of materials needed. Well, let's talk to Nick Watt about what all this could mean, Nick. Just talk us through what we've heard and where it goes.
Well, Emily, this potentially has huge ramifications. You mentioned the US Trade Representative. Not simple.
We're out of time, but thank you both very much indeed. Thanks for joining us this evening. Now, what drives the way we vote? Is it heartstrings or purse strings? Is it faith in what we're told or a distrust of those in positions of power? Is it tribal or untested, trivial or force of habit? Tomorrow, we'll see the biggest democratic exercise in terms of the number of individual races ever held in this country. Local elections, Scottish, Welsh parliaments, mayoral contests and police commissioners. The only part of the UK that will not be voting is Northern Ireland. In a moment, we'll be looking at the big electoral trends we've seen over the last 2 decades. Before that, in the last of his series, our political editor, Nick Watt, has been in the West Midlands. Lewis, thanks very much indeed. Lewis Goodall with more tomorrow. To Jersey now, which is facing threats from France in a row over post-Brexit fishing rights. The British government sent 2 offshore patrol vessels to monitor the situation after French fishers promised to blockade the ports in the Channel Islands in an escalating row. Yesterday, the French Maritime Minister backed calls to cut off Jersey's electricity supply. Residents of the Channel Islands did not get a vote in the EU referendum in 2016, the Brexit vote, but they now find themselves on the front line of the very decisions that ensued from it. Well, Mark Urban is our diplomatic editor, here to explain more. Do you think it's just about fishing rights then, Mark?
Well, that's how it started last try.
Ian Gorst, thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
How does a country that has free speech baked into its DNA, not to mention its constitution, deal with a powerful figure whose repeated lies that can provoke violence? The question perhaps lies at the heart of the decision social media companies took in the hours and days after the attempted insurrection on Washington's Capitol building and the former president's encouragement to his own supporters to overturn the election result. Facebook, you'll remember, banned him indefinitely, Twitter permanently. But today came clarification in the form of a judgment from what's called the Facebook Oversight Board. Trump, they decided, would remain off the platform for now, but the status would be reviewed at intervals. It raises questions about the wisdom of banning a powerful figure from being able to speak their mind and what, if any, role social media has in stopping that kind of speech there. Where do they go from here? James Clayton reports. James Clayton there. Well, we can talk to Shoshana Zuboff, Professor Emeritus of Harvard Business School, author of The Age of Surveillance Capitalism. Shoshana, do you think this was the right response from the Oversight Board, and do you think they got there in the right way? You know better than I do that Donald Trump's fans just say this kind of movement or move will embolden him. He will always find a way to talk to the millions of people that still support him, and it will be Facebook that's left out in the cold and not Donald Trump.
Well,
that is all from us for tonight. But before we go, we wanted to mark the death of Nick Kamen, the model and singer, who's died aged 59. We wanted to find some footage of him that you wouldn't have seen, maybe singing or something, but we kept returning to one thing, that laundrette, those Levi's, those boxers. We know you will have seen it all day. Can you ever see it enough? Good night.